everybody. We were doing the concept of supply, and under supply we did a law of supply also. But today we are going to do the further, that is change in quantity supplied and change in supply. As you can see on the board that I have written one another name. It means that change in quantity supplied can also be called as movement along supply curve. And the second one, change in supply. Change in supply means shift in supply curve. Shift in supply curve. Now see that supply can be changed, means increase or decrease with the change in own price, and second condition is with the help of determinants. Determinants you already studied. Determinants can affect the supply, and own price of the commodity can also affect this supply. Now see that what we call when change occurred in the supply, if it is due to own price, then what we can call it, and if it is because of the determinants of supply, then what we'll have to give the name. So we will see these two, change in quantity supplied and change in supply, in the proper form. Now see here that for the change in supply or change in quantity supply, what the names we are going to give it. First is a change in quantity supplied, that can also be called as movement along a supply curve. How that movement occurs we will see in the diagram. Movement along the supply curve, and it is because of the change in own price of the commodity. If the price of the commodity, own price of the commodity changes, then that change is described as movement along a supply curve. Done. And on the supply curve we show the supply as extension of supply if it is increased, or contraction of supply if it is decreased. These two names we use to give it. Now the second, change in supply. Change in supply means shift in supply curve. Supply curve shift from the original position, and it is because supply changed due to change in factors other than own price, means determinants. If determinants of supply changed, then this kind of change occurs, and it can be described with the help of forward shift and backward shift. Forward shift, done, and backward shift, that is popularly called as increase in supply and decrease in supply. If shift is forward, then it would be increase, and if shift is backward, it would be decrease in supply. Okay, if we talk about change in quantity supplied, like movement along a supply curve. If there is any question to you that discuss the movement along a supply curve, then see that this movement along a supply curve means extension and contraction of supply, and that is because of the own price. Because of the own price of the commodity has been changed. Now this extension and contraction can be explained with this table. Just to see, extension of supply means that is the increase in supply, but we not used to call it increase in supply, because increase in supply that happens because of the change in other factors. So if the supply is changed because of the price, then we are going to call it as extension of supply or contraction of supply. So you can see from here that quantity supplied is changed. If price is 1, then quantity supplied is also 1. Now if the price changed, the own price of the commodity, that is increased. If price is changed, the quantity supplied also increased. Means with increase of price, the quantity supplied also increased. This is the case of extension of supply. And second condition here, this is just the reciprocal of it, contraction of supply. If the price is 5, the quantity supplied was also 5. If the price decreases at 1, then quantity supplied also decreased to 1. This is known as a contraction of supply, meaning the supply is reduced. We can also see this with the help of the diagrams. For the diagram, firstly we would like to see the extension of supply. For extension of supply, we have to plot the diagram same as we have already done, x-axis or y-axis. And just to see, we can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little far. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Here it is the price and here is the quantity supplied. So here we are also going to take the difference of 1 and 1. Just to see, if the price is 1, quantity supplied is 1. Price is 1, quantity supplied is 1. Now if price is 5, quantity supplied, that is 5. If price rose to 5, quantity supplied is 5. Means up to this level. Now from this to this change is represented as extension of supply. Supply is extended. It is increased, extended this much from here to there. So this change is known as the extension of supply. Now if we talk about the contraction of supply, then what we have to do? At 5, price, quantity supplied 5. Price is 5 and quantity supplied is also 5. So this was the original supply. Now at price 1, quantity supplied is 1. At price 1, quantity supplied is 1. That became here. Point has been shifted from here to here. Now this curve, the same curve as we got earlier, this curve, it is showing the reduced supply, means contraction of supply from here to here. So this would be known as contraction of supply, means change in supply because of the own price of the commodity. This is how you have to draw both curves, extension of supply and the contraction of supply. Hello everybody, we were doing supply, and under supply we are going to do the second condition, that is change in supply. This change in supply can also be called as shift in the supply curve. When we draw the curve, you will see that how this shift occurred, and this shift can be of two types, forward shift and backward shift. If a shift is forward, that is known as increase in supply, and if a shift is backward shift will be known as a decrease in supply. We can also see this change of increase and decrease with the help of tables, and here I draw the tables of increase and decrease. Just to see increase, supply will be increased not because of the price, it is with the help of other factors. Supply will be increased with the help of other factors, like just to see if price is 10, supply was 20 and price is still 10 but it is increased up to 30. This 30 is not because of the change in supply, because price, because price is the same, but this change is because of the other factors like goal of the firm, factors of production, government policy, future expectation of prices that you have already studied in the determinants of supply, that factors which can also affect the supply. Now second is decrease in supply. Decrease in supply means price is similar but still the supply is a decrease. Just to see that if price is 10, supply was 30 and price remains the same but supply goes down to 20. We can also see this in the curve. For the curve, we will take the two axes, y-axis and x-axis, and we will take price on the y-axis and quantity supplied on the x-axis. Now we have already seen that price is same. So it is at rupees 10. Now see the supply that changed up to 30, 10, 20 and 30. Now see the first condition, that is increase in supply. At increase in supply, you can see that at price of 10, supply is 20. At price of, we can draw a simple line. At the price of 10, supply was 20. Means here was the supply curve. And at the price of 10, supply increased up to 30. Means supply curve shifted from this to this. This was the original. You can write as S. Then supply, you can write it as 1. This was the original curve and that curve is shifted to S2. This is extension. Means firstly here was the supply, now supply is extended to 30. This extension, this change is known as increase in supply. Increase in supply. Similarly, we can also see the decrease in supply. Just to see in the second table, when price was 10, supply was 30. Means price was 10, supply was 30. Here was the supply curve. Now, if price was again the same, but supply increased, it goes down to 20 here. So, it is shifted to the backward. This is now, this is S1, this would be S2 because this is the second curve which we have drawn, and this backward shift will be known as decrease in supply. So this is how you can describe the change with the help of increase and decrease in supply.